Now, here's your host, Duza.
Welcome to The Late Show. I'm your host, Duza Colbert. Folks, the integrity of journalism in the Western world has been under attack for decades. From the removal of the fairness doctrine that allowed for the unrestricted lies coming out of politically biased sources like Fox News, OAN, and Breitbart, to billionaire oligarchs buying up and compromising the editorial independence of print icons like the Washington Post, and most recently with the media conglomerates bending the knee to the thin-skinned despots corruptly blackmailing corporate activities to suppress criticism by cowardly canceling late-night comics. Yeah, that's a bit close. Joining me now is the undisputed voice of reason, a journalist with over 4 decades of excellence and experience, and the co-host of This Hour Has 7 Minutes since its earliest days, Gerome Giraffe. Welcome, Gerome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So how has the Ellison's appointment of Barry Weiss affected you?
She hasn't.
But I thought she was exercising undue editorial influence and suppressing criticism of the Trump regime throughout the media landscape.
Well, it's true she's been an absolute disaster at everything she's touched. Unless you're a cowardly toady of the current administration, I've never been part of 60 Minutes or CBS News, so she has absolutely zero impact on any channels I'm involved with.
Oh.
And, of course, I'm with a Canadian news agency and therefore still completely independent of all external influence.
But surely the Liberal government of Mark Carney is affecting your editorial slant.
Only in that he's the one currently in government and therefore subject to more scrutiny and criticism.
Yes, but clearly your bias is towards liberal elitism. I mean, you use big words and report on stories that push the progress and agendas of all things woke, with a focus on fake news gotcha questions intending to grab eyeballs through misrepresentational sound bites.
The journalistic credo is comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Life is difficult. If you're one of the lucky who are not discomforted, then chances are you're a cause of the discomfort for others.
What about the idea that the media is just fake news, focusing on that one soundbite clip that'll lead to that night gotcha newscast, sell papers, grab eyeballs, and get clicks?
First, and let me be absolutely clear, the idea of fake news is very easy to debunk. If you read or watch a news source, and they have pieces critical of both sides, both the left and the right, both liberal or Democrat, and conservative or Republican, then you're not watching fake news. So let's start with that. Fake news is any agency that never reports on the failings of both sides. Anyone can read the Associated Press, Canadian Press, and national newspapers such as the Globe and Mail, and they'll find articles that they agree with as well as those that upset and annoy them. That's the very definition of fair and balanced.
But governments often accomplish great things and the left-wing media never reports that.
That isn't true. They may not celebrate them, but if unemployment is low, it gets reported. Inflation gets reported regardless of the direction it's heading. The value of trade, currency, all of that is reported without bias. It's not the news's job to go looking for government successes to report on, unless they have a newsworthy angle, of course, such as something that should be copied elsewhere. Promoting their successes is what the government should be doing with their press releases, news conferences, and media scrums, and they do it quite a lot. The news, journalism, is there to report to the people where the government needs to widen their agenda to include other areas for which they are failing, and to inform the people on the impact of government policy so those people can make informed decisions, particularly at election time.
Yes, but can't you see how that in itself undermines the credibility of journalism? If you ignore successes the governments have, particularly when it's an unpopular or even corrupt government, then how are you not being biased? I mean, even the most incompetent government will get a few things right just by accident. And I wouldn't argue that if a majority of people voted for a government to do something, even if that something is immoral, then accomplishing that thing is a government success and ironically, a sign of a successful democracy.
Yes, I don't disagree. But the problem with government of the people, by the people, and for the people is the people. That's why it's critical in a democracy that a free media gives the government a platform to communicate their side, but also challenges them on whether those claims are true or working, and on who those policies are hurting. No doubt, most Germans were getting exactly the government they voted for under Hitler or the Italians under Mussolini, and even now the Americans under Trump. But when leadership gets away with insulting those questioning them, gets to shut down the questions, gets to storm out of interviews without repercussions for doing so, and is not challenged when their policies and decisions do massive harm, just as the ongoing conflict with Iran is doing, just as the tariffs and trade wars are doing, and the government's response is to shut down the questions because they are incapable of justifying their actions, then a free press and the right to criticize isn't just important, it's critical. When the government's version of events don't hold up to scrutiny, and there are no repercussions for avoiding giving answers, then we aren't being governed by moral people, but instead the corrupt. And when the rich are able to buy the channels that the people rely on and even need in order to remain informed, and the rich co-opt those channels by helping the government suppress criticism, then we do not have a democracy. The people do not have what they need to exercise their voice, and that, more than anything else, is what should be understood, universally I would add, as tearing away at the integrity of our institutions. Nothing in the shadows should be trusted, and no institution or organization that is unable or unwilling to defend its actions in the public or in the courts is moral enough to be allowed to stand. Yikes! You sound like you're promoting insurrection, rebellion, or revolution. I'm describing what will lead to insurrection, rebellion, or revolution. Throughout history, none of which were organized. They broke out because the population being governed reached a point where their distrust in the government exceeded what they had to lose. Woof. Well, thank you, Gerome. Sobering thoughts indeed. Indeed.
Gerome Giraffe, longtime co-host of This Hour, has 7 minutes, folks. We'll be right back after this message. Remember, there's a new late show segment premiering at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Mondays through Thursdays each week, with the full week's offerings posted in the digest format every Saturday. And patrons, even the free ones, who get their name in the credits just for signing up, get early releases of each segment during the East Coast prime time, so they don't need to wait until late night to see the show.